chief engineer on Dragon to Ground. Bob Doug, on behalf of the entire...
Oh, good evening. Just coming online, about 25 minutes early. Conditions have settled down a little bit earlier than last night, so I thought I'd just start a little bit early, give everybody a chance to join in. I'm just setting everything up. By setting everything up, I mean getting a cup of tea. Right, I've got a good stream indicator, so I think I'm live. If there's anybody out there, say hello. So I've got 3 people watching, and the audio's good. Right, that's it. I'm assuming everything's live now. Right, last night was pretty good when the conditions settled down. But this evening, the sun's still streaming on the roof, so right next to me, and I'm just having a little mooch around, and I'm going to do something a little bit more serious on the capture side. I'm going to capture a little bit more detail, and I'm going to use what I learned from last night with the camera settings to capture some of the wall details on the crater. And if you just bear with me a second, I shall bring across some of the pictures from last night. So here we go. I'll show these again later. Move that out of the way. I'll show some of these again later. So can't go to the next one on this, can we? I'll move that one out and do the next one. So we've just started to pick up some of the detail around some of these craters last night, and you can see the shadow there, which was a really nice touch. That mess just there is the timestamp. So with that coming across there, I'm hoping to get something similar this evening. And there we go. I mean, look at that shadow there and the details across the edge, the radiance coming out. So I was quite happy with that last night, and got to know some of the more important camera settings to capture the details. So hopefully I'm going to repeat the information I got from last night this evening. I mean, this is one of the early pictures from last night, and you can just start to see the details coming in. So I'll just get rid of this and get back to the stream. There we go. I'll repeat those pictures later on as people join, and they can join in. I might be going quiet for a bit because I've started the stream a little bit early. It's only 20 minutes to 9, 20 minutes early now, and I ain't had any food, I ain't had any dinner, So fingers crossed, it should be a decent stream this evening. Right, let's have a look on that. Wow, Facebook's lighted up. Go back to that one. 3 likes already, and I've been live for about 6 minutes. Right, the ultimate aim for this evening is to get a set of 20 craters with the detail that I showed you from those few pictures earlier on, and then I'm going to be naming them. Hey Louis, welcome back mate, welcome back. I'm a bit early, but this is just a preliminary for everybody who's on the ball. I'm not going to do anything serious till after 9 o'clock when I said this original stream will start. So this is just a little bit of a preamble on the build up to the stream. Right, the connection looks excellent and the audio looks excellent. So I think, oh, the audio's overdriving. I just drop it down a little bit. That's a little bit better, and that's a little bit better. Does that audio sound okay at that? Because it was overdriving a second ago, and I think that might have been a little bit on the loud side. Wow, 4 likes, blimey. I think the moon's quite popular because the sky's nice and clear this evening. The wind has dropped, still getting a little bit, the odd little gust here. The sun is still high on the roofs around me. It's missing the observatory at the moment, so I've got no sun entering the barrel of the telescope, so it's looking good for now. I'm just going to whack it into a high-speed mode and have a look round. See what we can expect this evening. I will be doing a meridian flip, so all these controls are going to be reversed later. So for now, the wobble is going to be quite excessive slewing round at this sort of a speed. Normally you use speed 1. And there's this sort of speed tracking across the surface. Right, we can also tune in the colour a little bit. Right, I'm going with the system that we did last night that dropped frames, because the number of frames that were dropped compared to the number of frames that were good, well, that were captured, was really good. The frames that we captured, I mean, those pictures I showed you, they were 250 frames stacked from a total of 2,500 frames per capture run. So we're only stacking 10% of the frames last night, and I think 10% is a good average. Although I'll do a live stack so you can see the process from beginning to end, from doing a capture to a final picture, minus any Photoshop manipulation. The moon's taken a beating. Yeah, I'm going to beat it in submission with this camera this evening. Let's see if I can show you what's on the guide camera. There you go. This is a very moody shot. That's the guide camera. That's exactly what the guide camera's seeing right now. Now, does that look dramatic or what? I think I preferred it when it was down here like this. There you go. One day I'm going to align the guide scope and the main tube so they're both pointing in the same direction. But I think those two craters there are those two craters there. So you can see the difference in magnification between the two telescopes. That camera is a QHY 2L mono camera, and the focal length of that telescope is 600 millimeters, whereas this side, it's got a camera of a very similar resolution, but with a focal length of 4,500 millimeters. So that's the difference in view. Although that is a pure mono camera, this is a colour camera. If I'd have gone for a mono, the colours would be, well, virtually like that one just there, look. Right, let's move that out of the way, get back to the main event. The cup of tea. There we go. Bring. Yeah, the CPU's going hammered again. When we're capturing in 24-bit RGB, even though we're not getting 24-bit colour on the screen, the information is still within the pictures. So when I do bring it into Photoshop, which I will at some point, not necessarily this evening, I should be able to tweak out a little bit more detail, a little bit more information. At the moment we're just cresting the edge of the roofs, hence all the thermals or the thermal interference just here. So we've just got to wait the extra 20 minutes or so for it to clear, and then the image should stabilise quite a lot. So I'm just going to leave it quiet for a minute because I'm going to drink my tea, get a biscuit, and possibly make some toast because I'm not feeling very hungry tonight. So enjoy the views for a minute. I shall be back in 12 minutes for the start of the stream at 9 o'clock. So I'll catch you all in a few minutes. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm still armed with toast and tea, but it's 9 o'clock and it's stream time. Right, welcome to the stream, everybody. After last night's successful events and the knowledge we've gained from the camera settings, new camera of course, we're going for a selection of the larger craters, and we're going to do a couple of image runs on each. I'm going to create some stills of them for a bit of a collage, a bit of a home project for myself. The camera's working pretty well. We're still just cresting the edge of the roof, so we're going to be suffering with a few thermals for a short while. But while it settles down, I'll bring out some of the stills from last night. I've already showed them once on the stream already, but some of them are pretty good, so they're worth seeing a few times. So I'll just bring these across. I'll move this out of the way, we don't need that. Right. In no particular order, these are just the few that I decided to stack and process. No Photoshop, these are just stacked and tweaked within the stacking software. I mean, this one, look at the details around that crater wall there, and look at the details around here. The shadow halfway across that crater there. This is because these were really close to the terminator, and it picked up quite a lot of detail. These were just slightly further across, but still the detail it's picked up with this camera. And I think these were just 250 frames from each run of 2,500, so just 10% of each photographic run with the camera. They've not all come out perfect, because the conditions were a little bit, a little bit off. There's still a few thermals, still a little bit of wind, but overall it was not a bad session, and we learned a lot from the camera. So I'm just going to move this back out of the way. I'll show them again later, because there'll be people joining who's not seen them yet, and I do enjoy sharing those. Right, bring that back, and let's have a look round. I'll keep going quiet for a minute because my toast's going cold. A real hometown stream. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a breeze still affecting the tracking. I'll just drop on the odd target and leave it while I finish my food. Just try and tweak the colours so the colours look right. There you go, that's better. Right, nibble time. I should be back shortly. Right, sorry for the delay. Hopefully that'll be the last food break. I'm just having a general mooch around the surface in case anything is lit exceptionally well, which will image. I want a collection of craters for this evening to turn into still images. I mean, some of the views at the moment, I keep tweaking the focus a little bit because the heat in the tube has made the mirror at the bottom quite warm, and that's retaining a lot of heat, and as that cools it will affect the focus, so the focus will drift out till everything's reached pretty close to ambient, which will take a couple of hours. The mirror is quite heavy, so it will hold a lot of heat for a while. So I'm not going to do anything in the image capture for a while till everything's settled down thermally. And we've only just moved away from the rooftops, so we're still at the moment suffering with the thermals from the tops of the houses, and we just need it to get a little bit darker so we can lose the excessive burnout just there. So I can turn the gain down a little bit, but we'll lose a lot of the detail of everything else. Turn the brightness up, see if that can... No, it's having very little effect. I suppose we can leave it like that, that's reasonable. Now let's just tweak the focus a little bit. It's not too bad, because that'll change as we go along. Yeah, if at any point you want to see the images from last night again, just shout up and I'll bring them across, because some of them come out pretty well. I don't think I've put the camera back in the holder the same orientation as it was last night, because it's not tracking true horizontal, it's going down and right a little bit, but that's not critical for photography this evening. And even across here, look, we can see some detail down there. Let's just expose. Oh, exposure. There we go. There we go. Now that's a decent bit of framing. See if we can see if there's anything else to this side. No. Right, just let's see if we can tweak the focus, the exposure a little bit, because it's picking up a lot of detail around the crater and a lot of detail out in this plains area. Still a little bit overexposed just there, but I just want this area here. Yeah, see, that's picked up a lot more detail there, but let's even brought that in a little bit. Right, let's get the colour balance something like. Even though that says it's pretty good, I don't think I've got the auto stretch feature now. So we're using the free version of Sharp Cap. So let's bring that back a little bit and up a little bit. Right. Now I'm just going to do a capture run of that area there. That colour's not quite right for me. That's better. There, I think it just needs slightly more blue on that. Right. Let the telescope settle down from all its wobblings, and I'll just do a quick capture. In fact, I'll switch that timestamp off. If I can remember where the settings are. Timestamp. If anybody knows where the timestamp selection is, please shout up. Right, is it under the capture menu? And now we'll leave the timestamp going. Right, we'll just let that run and see how that comes out in a minute. I will be stacking some of these images live on the stream so you can see what's involved and how easy it is to press a few buttons. I don't have any particular skill in that area, and as with anything, I just press some buttons till it looks reasonable. And as for the equipment we're using, the main tube is a 305mm Skywatcher PDS, and it's mounted on an NEQ6 Pro, and the camera is an ASI 224 colour. It is a planetary camera, and we're also using a basic 3x Barlow. So the natural focal length of the tube is 1500mm, but with the 3x Barlow it's multiplied 3 times, so that makes it 4500mm focal length, and any slight movement on the tube in any direction causes quite a large deflection on the image, and most of this at the moment is caused by thermals. Right, while we're still over that thermal area, I'll just do a quick stack of that image we just captured. I think it's that one there. Yep, that's the one. Right, move that out of the way. Find an image that's reasonably sharp and put a few reference points down for the software to stack to. The more of these you put on, the longer the stack takes and the alignment algorithms take, but the more accurate it is. But because we're doing a quick and dirty, we've only got eight processors out of the 16 we've got available, so it should be reasonably quick. And I think from start to finish this takes about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, not what we're doing now, to get a final image out at the end. At the moment we're just picking up 300 out of the 2500 frames, and the next process, the little lines are how much movement that's occurred between the first frame and the last frame that we're going to be stacking, and I'm quite happy to leave it at that. So I'll just click stack, and the progress bar at the bottom will stack those 300 frames There'll be a bit artifacting around the edges, but it should. There we go. There we go. Right, this is where the magic happens. We're going to turn that into a pretty reasonable picture. So these little sliders just here address the focus. There's a small selection area in the middle that we're working on, so it speed things up, and you'll see it change. In fact, I'll just tweak that's the area we're actually working on. Right, and you'll see that change as I move these sliders up. Just starting to pick up some of the more subtler details. There you go. Now RGB align. Because it's a colour camera, it has colour data. So the colour channels will need to be aligned up, and this will, if you click on the estimate, will check how much out of alignment the different colours are, the red, green and blue. So this shouldn't take that long. And there we go, job done. So we're only a little bit out, so we'll leave it at that. I'm quite happy with that, because the colours are pretty good, and the balance is a little bit out. So this will adjust the whole colour, well, just inside that area just there. So if I bring everything to line up on the blue, that'll do for that. Right, the next bit, the histogram, where all the magic happens. Right, just a really extreme stretch and it'll screw that up big time, which it hasn't actually. It's still picking up the detail, and it's centralised the main area of colour, so that's pretty good. So we can actually tweak that a little bit. In fact, it wasn't bad where it was. No, I'll leave that as it is. Right, just a little adjustment for contrast and brightness, and then we'll turn it into a picture. Hopefully it'll pick up a bit more detail in that when we've done. There we go, it's got a little bit of detail there. Right, the do it all button, and hey presto, look at that. It's picked up all that detail on that crater wall. Still a little bit overexposed on these two craters just here, but it's picked up all the lovely detail across that part there, and these almost like sand dunes. Right, I'll save that and add that to the collection from the other night. So moon, that's a collection from the other night, so I'll just add it into there. Should have a unique number, so I'll just leave it at that. There we go. So was that simple enough for you? And that's how quick it is to make a so-so image. And we've drifted off a little bit. Are we in lunar mode? That's the question. We are now. Right. So if you see a decent crater that looks like it's illuminated and has potential with a bit of detail, we can just stop everything and do a quick image run. And start to finish with that one particular image, I think that was less than 5 minutes. So playing around with these images, I think this is the area that we were concentrating on last night, these three craters, because the detail on these crater walls was coming out. So let's have another look on this. Right, do we want to keep the left hand edge in, or should we go for a little bit of the planes on the right hand side? Well, I want to keep a lot of the detail around that one there. I'll look up on the lunar map later and put names to all these craters. I think I'll frame it about there. Right, when it stops wobbling, we'll do another capture. See, we're doing 2,500 frames, no time, we're not using time limits. And I've still not found out where to switch the timestamp off. Well, just hit the go button. And there we go, we're away again. And that should give us a decent capture. Okay, that's Jack. Okay, mate. I think I added your account earlier on. I saw that pop up earlier. So we're 1,600 frames. We're drifting quite a lot this evening. That might be because I've pulled it out of balance slightly because I've been cable managing. But we should get enough detail out of that to make a picture. I suppose what we could do it capture by capture. As we capture each run, turn it into a picture, and then that way we can find out if we need to redo it again, or if we can move on to the next one. It'll be rough and ready. If I move that onto, pin it onto there. There it is, bring that up. So now, that bit of software there, that's the link between this software and the Stellarium software, that software. So this bit here connects that one and that one together. So whatever I click on here will tell this to go and find it. Right, we've gone past the southern pole, so I'm going to need to do a meridian flip shortly. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make it go flying. So we're going to lose images for a minute, and there it goes. So while that's doing that, we'll create another image from that selection we've just done, and I think that's the one there. I think that's the one. Open it up, move that out of the way. Yeah, that's the one, look. Right, same routine, put a few alignment points in there. You get a lot better results if you go use a lot of the other facilities on this, because it can make a lot better picture if you're prepared to put the work into it. That's a little bit overexposed there. Right, that sounds like the telescope just disconnected for a second because it did the flip. So we'll click align. Yeah, that's had an issue. While that's stacking, I'll be able to look at the other picture. Right, limits, that's a long way, so this might not actually make a very good picture at all. So we'll stack it anyway. And we're nowhere near the moon at the moment. I've pulled up some detail. Right, let's have a look at the wavelets and see what we can do with these sliders. There are extra stages you can go through just to bring the pictures in with more detail, but I'm just doing this for speed and demonstration only. Let's pick that up nicely, and it's picked up a bit of detail just there. That's okay. RGB align. Estimate on that. Okay, balance. Balance is pretty good. And now that one's actually not too bad. Pretty central. Stretch that. Bit more in from this side. Oh, burning it out a bit. Reset that. So we need to just bring this side up a bit. Okay, right, do all. There you go. There you go. A little bit of tweaking on colour balance, and that should make a decent image. Right, we'll save that. Desktop, moon, and just add it to the collection. There we go. Right, I'll just leave that on screen for a second, and I'm just going to check the levels. Just bear with me. Right, let's go back to the cameras. Too many buttons down here, clicking too many buttons. There you go. Right. Because the camera is starting to cool down a little bit, I've got to adjust the focus a little bit. Now that is a lot better. Details around that already, and that's without even stacking. So doing a frame run on this one should turn this into quite a decent image. See if we can adjust the colour balance, because it's gone way off now. Still too much red there. I'm starting to like this SharpCap software. I might even purchase it. I'm just using the free version at the moment, and I think it's got some decent there you go, look at that, some decent facilities on it. stacking this again. These are the same craters from the opposite side because the telescope's actually turned 180 degrees over, so everything's backwards compared to that last picture. So I'm just going to do a quick capture on this in that orientation at the moment, and do a quick stack on that, see what this comes out, because this is starting to pick up a hell of a lot more detail around this than it was 15 minutes ago. And it's time for a sip of tea. If you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe, because I come online at the drop of a hat and the sniff of a clear sky. So if you want to join in on the random streams, it could be anything from the moon to a comet, and we've done some good comet stuff in the past. Right, 2,300, 400 and finished. There we go. Is the format okay, doing a capture and then a stack? Are you okay with watching that, or did you just want me to hop around some of the different sites on the moon? Because I'm quite happy to do either. Because as we stack them, we get to see if the data we've collected is good, compared to finding out tomorrow when the opportunity to repeat capture the data has gone. So I think I'll stick with the capture and stack software system. Right, get rid of that and start again there. Select. There we go. Look, if you look at them two, you can see the difference with the telescope that's flipped over. That's pre-meridian flip, that's post-meridian flip. So it's flipped 180 degrees in two directions. And here we go. Let's move that out of the way. And as usual, set a few align points. You could always scroll through a little bit to find a particularly sharp image and use that as the reference image. There, that's a little bit better. Because the detail around this crater wall just here is quite incredible. So I'm hoping when we stack this one, it will reveal some more detail around the edges. Right, we're going for, I think we'll go for a few extra frames this time. Take it to 350. Extra 50 frames. See if we can pull a little bit more detail out of it. Might take it a little bit longer to do the stacking. And here we go. There we go. It has moved a little bit. See how far it's moved on the limits. Not too bad. Not too bad. The limits are pretty tight. So we'll go with that. So what you can do, look at the stack graph. You can set cut-off points for which images, which frames are good. If you want to delete or drop frames, you can set limits for each individual capture point, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to go with what we've got. Click stack. And this software is also free, so you can have quite a capable little observatory on free software. But I always do credit the people who create this software, because without them there'd be a lot less astronomers out there, me included. Right, move that away, it's always creeping back in. Just check the contrast a little bit and the brightness. It's even starting to bring out some of the detail there already. And each one of these sliders has got a lot more subtleties than just dragging it across, because the two different windows are noise reduction and sharpness. So each one of these sliders you can do multiple different operations just to home in on the best set of adjustments. Right, just doing a quick line up, and the colour alignment's pretty good. Now let's just get the colour balance, which is not far out actually. So we'll keep the blue where it is, and we'll just drag the green across, and you should see a subtle change in colour, and then we'll drag the red across a little bit, and that's just tweak the colour on that area there, so that'll do. And the histogram, so that this could do with, I think it's this side that needs bringing up. Try and get that central, so stretch it a little bit and a little bit more both ways. Yeah, that'll do on that. And then let's do the do all button. Look at that, look at that, just a few minutes and we've turned those few frames. Hey Samurai, I didn't see you come in there, mate. Just a few minutes tweaking these sliders, pressing a few buttons, and drag that. That's 300 frames from that total of 2,500 from the capture earlier on. Now it's not brilliant because we've burnt out a little bit here on the side, crater walls and down here, but this main crater that we were focusing on, it's picked up a lot of detail around there and a lot of detail down here. Perhaps reprocessing again. I'll keep this data as it is. I'll keep that picture as it is. Let's even pick that up. I'm quite impressed with that. I'll keep this one as it is, and I might do a revisit for the next stream, and I'll do a show and tell on the next stream. Right, we'll save that image. We'll put it back into the moon collection. There we go. Job done. Close this down again, and let's go and have a look for another crater. Right, bring that in. Right. I mean, features such as these here, curious as to how they came about. Looks like an asteroid came down, grazed the ground, and then just bounced back off again. Sounds silly. You never know. I certainly don't. And there we go, that's the crest. Right, let me just double check the focus, because the fan is now running on the back of the tube, cooling the mirror down. So the mirror won't be far off ambient now, because it's been running for an hour or two. So when the mirror settles down, the focus should stay a lot more stable. And we're just following the edge of the terminator, this bit just here. That's the terminator, the extent to which the sun can illuminate. A subtle crater there, look, and a subtle crater there. What do you reckon? Do you reckon that's worth a capture? No. Okay. As I say, after the stream, I'll look up on the moon map and actually add names to the different craters. because doing my familiarity with the surface of the moon is not brilliant. Although I know a few astronomers could just look at the picture and say, oh yeah, that's so and so and that's so and so. Unfortunately, that's not me at the moment. This is just another opportunistic stream. I think we did this one earlier on. Yeah, I always like that one because it's got a lot of detail around there. Tweak the exposure a little bit, or the gain. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Let's keep scrolling along. I'm going to have to find a music pack, some background music while we're doing this, because I think it would add to what we're doing. Something moody. Another job for me to do later. Because I do believe YouTube's got quite a catalogue of free tracks and free music, and the wind's picking up a little bit outside. Let's just drop down right to the bottom of the Terminator, and we'll see if we can find anything of any interest along that edge. And we'll do the same method of 2,500. I think we'll stick with 300 frames now. We'll grab 300 frames before we do a stack. Now this one looks worthy of a few frames. What do you think? These three, or these four? With that bit of detail there. I think we'll go for that because we've got quite a variety of data there. Let's just tweak the colours a little bit so it's a little bit more natural. Look at some of the detail coming out there. Now the focus has settled a little bit. Does that look a little bit blue? Right, we'll just do it at that. Quick capture. And we'll see what that does for us. Right, while I get a sip of tea. Better. This method and this resolution does drop a lot of frames, but at the moment it doesn't seem to be affecting the quality of the data that we collect at the end of the run. So I'm quite happy to drop those frames. soon as that's finished, we'll stack it and wrap it and see what we can come up with. Because there's a nice lot of detail around that crater wall there. Nice shadow effect coming across that one with the central prominence. And a bit of detail across that one here. Right, let's have a look. Open this again, move that out of the way. Select the last capture file, there it is. That's the one, open that. And then here we go. Yeah, that's the one. Even that one single frame there's got quite a bit of detail on it. Let's scroll through, see if we can find a particularly sharp frame. And we'll use that one as a reference if we can find one. There, that one's slightly better. I'm just looking at this area here for the details. And we'll just whack a few reference points down. I normally put them between points of high contrast. So they're easy, you don't need them there, but it's easier for me to reference when I'm clicking. So we don't need an excessive amount because there's a lot of contrast across the whole image. So as we're going along, there you go, those few will do. We're collecting 350 frames, best 350 frames from 2,500. So we'll select a line and the progress bar at the bottom left hand corner. We'll key up to date of how we're getting along. So look at that. If we've got any new watchers, welcome to the stream. I've not done this format before. Scroll through, capture and then stack. This is new, I'm just trying it out this evening. And just trying to gauge people's reaction to it, see if they like it. If not, I can always go back to something else, just browsing and cruising. Right, the movement on that is pretty minimal. Pardon me. So I think we'll stack on that. We're not to remove any of those frames, we'll just go with it. 7 likes, we've only got 6 people watching. Impressive. Right, there we go. That's not bad at all. That's not too badly overexposed. So this one might turn out to be a reasonable image. Right, let's just do the contrast first so we see which area we're working in. And a bit of the brightness to lighten it up. A bit more contrast, I think. How does that look? Right, now let's do the magic sliders. That is bringing out a lot of detail this time. With the mirror cooling down and matching to ambient temperature, the distortions are getting a lot less. And it's taken the mirror at least an hour and a half, 2 hours to cool down. That's how long I've had the fan running on it. But it's still pretty warm outside. That is pretty good. That is pretty good. Right, let's just check the RGB alignment. Even though it looks like a mono picture, it is in colour. So click on estimate on that. When Jupiter comes into within my horizons, we're going to do quite a few sessions on Jupiter, because it is a really nice planet to look at. Saturn, always difficult for me to capture. It's always low on my horizons, but when that does present itself, you can guarantee we'll be spending some hours on that one. And weather permitting, better. Weather permitting, I'll do Mercury and Venus again tomorrow. At the moment I'm off work, I've got a trapped nerve in my back, but I'm all doped up on tablets this evening. I'm struggling to keep my eyes open a little bit, but let's have a look at this. See if we can bring that across a little bit. Oh yeah, look at this. This is coming in really, really well now. Not that one. If I can get that central without going to too much of an extreme, should bring out a lot of detail on that. If you go too far, that has come out really, really nice actually. I'll leave that at that. Right, let's click the dual button and see what it throws out at us. It's overexposed a little bit, but the detail it's brought out is incredible. So you can just drop the exposure down a little bit. Just drop that exposure down a little bit. No. I suppose what I could do one super underexposed and one super overexposed, and then combine them to get the best of both worlds. Reset that. Yeah, I'll save that, add that one to the collection. There we go, that's another one added in the bag. Right, close that down and let's have a peruse for the next target. And where's that? There we go, bring that back in. Oh, we didn't reach the bottom edge, so let's go to this southern reel. Hey Ghostly, welcome to the stream. Mapping, basically taking photographs of the major craters and stacking it live so you can see what's involved and see there's no real black art about astrophotography. Nice and easy targets, nothing special, and the majority of the software that we're using is absolutely free. So there's nothing stopping anybody from sticking a camera on any telescope they've got and doing exactly what we're doing now. I do have a Microsoft webcam that I can actually swap over from this camera we're actually using and show you how it looks on an absolute budget system, apart from the telescope of course, which I wouldn't call budget. In about another 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll show you some of the images we got from last night. Just change the format around, so we'll do stacking live. That's the southern edge, southern polar region of the moon, that line along there. Right, let's just tweak the exposure a little bit and the gain. Colour's way out again. That histogram says it's pretty well balanced, but that doesn't look like a balanced colour to me. Yeah, The Edge of the Moon. Sounds like a title of a book. Right, just tweak the brightness down a little bit. That's very contrasty, but I can't get the colour looking right. Oh, timestamps. There we go. Switch the timestamps off now. And that's bringing it. There you go. That's a slightly better picture. And you can see the detail on the inner edge of that crater just there. So if I just tweak down a little bit, and we'll get the edge of the moon, southern polar region, we'll get this crater field. There we go. Right, we'll just set the capture away, 2,500 frames, and we'll just get the southern polar region and turn that into a still. I'll just take a few moments. Yes, I know we're dropping a lot of frames, but with what we're doing, it doesn't seem to have much of an effect on the quality of the final image. And the manipulation we're doing is quick and dirty. It's taking less than 5 minutes to come up with a reasonable quality final image. Even the tweaking software is free. Thinking about it, every piece of software that we're using this evening is free. The capture software, the control software, the Starfield software, everything is free. So the only thing that's been purchased is the camera, the telescope and the mount. So it's not too bad. Right, let's have a look at this, see how we can stack this, see how this comes up. And here we go. Let's select the file. There it is, freshly captured. Let's load it up. Yeah, that looks very familiar from a few seconds ago. Move that out of the way because it's always in the way. Right, we'll just scroll along a bit, see if we can find that one there. That looks quite sharp, so we'll just stick a few align points in there along the high contrast areas. That might burn out a little bit, that. Right, align those points up. We're going to use 350 of the best frames from 2,500 frames we've just captured. Somebody ought to time how long it takes from start to finish, from when we press the capture button to where we end up with a finished image. I'm sure it's less than 10 minutes. Right, there we go. Let's look how far we've moved. Right, it's wobbled that far. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm just going to let it stack and we'll go with it. Go with the flow. There we go. Right, colour's a little bit off. Here we go then. Let's just tweak the contrast a little bit and the brightness. Yeah, I thought some of these might overexpose a bit. Right. How do I know how far to move those sliders? I don't. Is the correct answer. I just move them till this looks something like acceptable. And that these two areas here are way overexposed. That's not too bad. I try to keep the exposure so we don't burn out too many of the pixels. What we're doing now is doing the RGB lineup, because we've got red, green and blue channels, and this is going to make sure each channel is overlaid directly over the top of the previous. There we go, just a little bit of adjustment on that one. Now let's just check the balance. There we go, we're a little bit out on that. Let's try auto balance. That did bugger all for us. And let's bring the green across. Yep, it's I think it's just over half moon at the moment. But for what we're doing, it's that terminator on the half moon section that brings out a lot of detail. Right, that'll be okay with that. It looks a bit green to me, that does. So let's go on to this bit. Right, this is going to be a little bit more tricky. If I bring that down a little bit, wrong way. We need to get that somewhere central, somewhere about here. But we don't want to clip the bottom end of the colours, and that's overexposing it. Let's just reset that. Just drag across a bit. Drop that down a bit. That's very contrasty, got a lot of detail there. Right, let's do all and see what it looks like as a full picture. There we go. Look at the detail that's brought out there. That crater's edge there has brought out a phenomenal amount of detail. Even I'm impressed with that. I'm starting to like this camera even more. Yes, it is. It's a very contrasty area on that Terminator. And on this image you can see on screen right now, that's the edge of the Terminator just there. And the bright part is the limitation, well, the limit of where the sun can expose at the moment. And it's just bringing out some nice detail on that. So I'm just going to save that as it is in the moon. Add that to the collection. I'm going to have to colour correct that later. Let's see if we can just tweak a little bit. Anything that contrast is too much contrast on that. Nah, too much. Right, let's go and find another target. Let's bring the controls back in. And get right close to, I think we've followed the Terminator all the way down. Right, we'll just start going back to the northern sections and see what we can find along the way. And we'll continue moving north. Because we've done a meridian flip, the buttons are reversed. Selecting south moves the scope towards the north. Swap that over and we can carry on as normal. And with that one. You can see with the Terminator you start losing all detail altogether there. So we'll just go back a little bit. We're actually slewing in single speed on the mount, and we've got several speeds available, so the single speed seems to be quite acceptable. We're going nice and slow, we're not missing any detail or any particular crater. And it's 10 o'clock. Sorry, 8 minutes past 10. Right, let's see if we can see if that's worth a picture. I'm not sure if that's got much detail in it. The bright edge we'll go over and have a look in a moment if you like. Just do a capture on this and stack this, and then we'll slew across and have a look. Right, there we go, 2,500 frames. We'll just let that capture. Oh, the camera is pretty new. Last night was basically a trial by fire, because last night was the first time I got to grips with the settings, and I'm still learning as we go. This is the 4th session I've had with this camera, and I'm slowly becoming comfortable with it. With the Barlow, we're on a focal length of 4,500 millimeters, which is pretty good for a 12-inch scope. It's like a big sail, although there's not much wind at the moment. It's pretty stable, but the scope and the guide scope are they're actually overloading the mount. Right, I'll leave that where it is, and I'll just have a quick stack of this one and see what this one looks like, and then we'll go across to the edge and have you take me to the edge. Right, down there it is. That's the one we just captured. Wait, it loads up. Yep. See what this one looks like, because the contrast's quite a bit different on this. A lot of detail around that area, and a lot along the crater's edge. I'll just go with those, line up on those, and we'll see what I can do. I bet it's going to bring out some detail around this area here and this bit just here, because it looks like it's got a potential of bringing out some nice, it's like water lines, to be honest. Here we go. Limit should be not too bad. Right, stack 350 frames and let's see what's going to throw out to us. Previously, what I'd do, I'd collect all the data of an evening and then work on it the following day. But this way you can actually see everything we capture as it's happening, and you get an idea of what's involved in the whole process. I was contemplating setting up a Dropbox so I could drop all the data that we've captured for everybody to access and have a go themselves. That's just one slide has brought some detail out there. Just having a look. Good call, space station, just called it. I wish I'd known it was going to be doing a flyby this evening, because I've got a 500mm lens to pop on my camera. I'd have been ready if I'd have had a bit of forethought. Just got a brief glimpse with the binoculars. Right, that's okay. RGB align. Hey Jack, welcome. There you go, that's not too bad. Close that. Colour balance. Too much green. Might be easy to move the blue. Nah, sorry, that'll do. Right, histogram. That's way out. And again. Overexposing a lot up there. Let's just reset it. So let's try moving that. Just move that back a little bit. Let's just find the spot. Way too much. Right, that's not too bad. Right, let's just hit the do all button and see what we get. Yeah, it's brought a lot of detail out there and a lot of details around there. I'm happy with that as it is. I don't need to tweak that anymore. So I'll save that image in the collection and add it in there. There we go. Close this down. Bring back the controls. Got a lot of thermal activity now for some reason. We've swung over to the rooftops on the other side. So I'm going to get a little bit more thermal activity for a while. Right, what's actually happening now, where the location of my observatory is, it's between two rows of houses along the back gardens. And we've now followed the moon, and it's gone across to just above the rooftops of the houses on the right hand side. And the roofs during the day have collected a tremendous amount of heat from the sun, because it's been quite a hot day today. And now it's slowly releasing that heat and causing these disturbed skies. I'm just trying to tweak a little bit more on the focus, see if we can get that sweet spot. Right, drop that gain down a little bit. And there's the top edge of the moon, the northern regions. Right, said you wanted to see the brighter edge. So let's just follow the outer edge of the moon across. And we might come back through some of these larger craters in a moment. I will adjust the exposure just to make it more visible for some of the better detail. Keep turning the gain down a little bit. And look at the colour balance has gone way off. Yeah, that's a bit better. as you follow the edge, you can see how stable the focus is. Just stop tracking for a second. And the slight blue line, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, is chromatic aberration. And I can tell you exactly where that's coming from my light train. It is this cheap 3-power Barlow that I'm using. It was one that came with one of the right angle finders that I had, and for something that's free, it's not actually that bad, because that's the only aberration that I've got. So for cheap, and well, free, can't get much cheaper than free, can you? So for a cheap Barlow, it's not too bad. I do have that 5x power mate, which is way over the top for this sort of target at the moment. And I'm just going to tweak the focus again. And that's about as good as I'm going to get. If I go to the next speed for slewing, it's way too much. In fact, I'll demonstrate. So you go on to speed number 2. It knocks the scope everywhere. Right, go back to number 1. So with the active thermals now being over the house roofs at the moment, I think that's about as good of a focus that we can expect. So it'll be about another hour and a half before it clears this region of heat. But we can tweak exposure and stuff. See if we can bring out different details. Let's leave it to that for a bit. Let's go bright. I don't normally like to go super bright, because it burns out a lot of the more subtler details. I mean, crater edges just disappear. This crater just here, for example, let's just focus in on that one, and we'll look at the difference that changing exposure and brightness has on what we can actually see on that crater there. Right, bring that down a little bit. You see it's just brought some of that detail along that edge there. Somebody's flashing Morse code across the way with the bathroom lights. If only I knew Morse code. Should point camera over there, shouldn't I? Right, back to the job at hand. Right, yeah, you can see just a little bit of detail on there. Let's see if I can focus a little bit more on that. not really, there's just too much thermal interference. I suppose it's a good candidate just to see what it can do with the capture. Let's just give it a capture and see what it does for us. It's quick enough, and we'll let it rip. Now, if there's any new viewers this evening, please like and subscribe, because this is the sort of thing we do most evenings when it's clear. We never know where we're going to end up. At the moment, it doesn't quite get dark enough to chase the comets, although if you have a look at some previous streams, you can see lots of details of the comets we've captured in the past, including the breakup of Atlas Y4. And here we come to the end of this capture. So this is not going to be as good because the thermals are having quite an effect on the screen. And there we go. Right, I'll just move this out of the way. We'll have a quick stack on that set of data and see what the effect of all them thermals are going to have. There it is. On this image, yeah, even from that first image there, you can see it's not as detailed as the previous ones. I'll scroll through to find particularly that one will do. Right, in fact, we'll go with those. There we go, just quickly stack 350 frames again from that last capture, but I'm not expecting this one to be anywhere near as detailed as the previous ones. But I have been surprised in the past. It's getting to that time of the evening where that cup of tea is sounding rather a good idea. Right, it has improved it slightly. Why there's a lot of movement on there, but we'll go with it. I'm not even sure it's going to make a decent image this time. Right, let's press some buttons. Let's find the area that we're going to be working in. Right, I'll leave it at that, and let's do these sliders. Yeah, last time that one slider brought out a lot of detail. This time it's not having that much effect. So we'll have to be a little bit more aggressive on these. Perhaps not too aggressive. Yeah, I've brought some out. I've perhaps gone back a little bit too much. Yeah, it'll do. Starting to burn out the lighter areas there. Let's do the alignment. Again, not as good as the previous images, and the balance is not actually that bad. There you go, we'll leave the balance as it is, and let's tweak the history. The histogram looks pretty good as well, so I don't think we need to do much with that. Just narrow down the edge pixels out of the way. There we go. Burnt out a little bit. Let's just reset it, see if we can get it back. Okay, we'll leave that at that, and let's do it all. See what it brings out of that collection. Not the best. Contrast wise, it's not picked up as much detail on the crater walls, and it's a lot brighter than the previous ones. Just tweak that at that. That's better, just too bright. Dropping the exposure down a bit, or the brightness down a little bit, has brought a few more details out on the cave wall, on the walls. I would hardly call me an expert, but I suppose if you did look up close and personal with a piece of Swiss cheese, it could look like that. I'll just save that image to the collection, and in a few minutes I will actually go through and scroll through the pictures that we've captured tonight and the ones that we got from yesterday evening. Right, let's go and have a bit of a look up here. You can see a lot of the stuff that was ejected from that impact coming across there. So I wonder if that might make a decent image. And there again. Normally if you see that sort of thing, you'd think there was wind blowing it. But I don't think there's much of a wind on the surface of the moon. So what do you think could cause that? Because they're all going in the distinct same direction. There's a mystery for you. You see that? That crater there, that crater there, that crater there. All got lines in the same direction. What could be causing those? A mystery for you to go to sleep on. I think I actually know because I looked into it a couple of nights ago. Wiki's a wonderful thing. Hey, big W, little W, how you going, mate? Yeah, but if the asteroid impacts, how come all the stuff that was ejected from the impacts are going in the same direction? Look at that. What's the chances of 3 asteroids impacting from the same direction? Look at that lot. One there, and one there. What's the chances of 3 impacts having ejections from an impact crater all going in the same direction? A cloud of asteroids. Well, they all must be around the same era, for the simple reason this volcanic, it is a volcanic field there. Let me just see if we can tweak the exposure down a little bit, bring some detail in. Right, all that flat field there, all that flat area there, was formed about the same sort of time. You can tell that by the lack of impacts. So it's relatively new. And with these 3 impacts having the same sort of, I want to say ejaculate then. What am I thinking of? I've got a one-track mind. Ejected material out the impact zones, all going in the same direction. Now, I'm not sure. See if we can get a better zoom. I've got a zoom tool on here. Live stack, sensor, polar alignment, scripting, zoom. We've got a live zoom. Zoom, here we go. See if we can get a bit closer. Not going to do that very much for us. Three meteorites travelling in exactly the same direction. Could be, it could be, or one meteorite that's broken up. But if there was 3 meteorites travelling in the same direction, the chances are they'd impact pretty close. I'm going to have to find the article for next time and bring the link up. Let's drop this zoom back down a bit. There we go. Right, let's continue. What were we doing? We were looking for another target to stack, weren't we? And I found that crater just above us. Yeah, possibly. But you'd think they'd stay pretty close together if they were breaking up. Depends on how far away they are. I think that's a question you need to ask a real astronomer. I'm just a guy with a telescope and a few buttons. But I did wiki it, I think, and I found a bit of reasoning behind it. Let's just see if we can tweak this a little bit. Yeah, I don't like, you see, if you bring the exposure up to bring out some of the more subtle details, you burn out a lot of the stuff that you want to keep. This is one of the images I did from yesterday evening, this pair of craters. So we'll just keep on moving around a little bit. Also begs the question if other asteroids have hit around, well, after that lava field was formed, how come there's no lines of ejected materials from other impacts? If it was a shallow impact, the crater would not be round. If it came in at a sharp angle, it would be an ovoid shape, wouldn't it? If it was a round crater and it came down at a oblique angle, it would be a round crater and everything would have been ejected evenly. A bit like this one here, look. See all the I've got ejaculate on my brain now. First time I said it, I knew I was asking for trouble. All this stuff that was ejected from that impact zone there is gone like a radiance from the central point. So you're going to drop that exposure down a little bit. I'll do a capture on this, see if we can bring out the details on this one. So I want to get rid of that super bright area there. If I can get rid of that, it should make a nice capture, that. I think this is a limitation of the camera not being able to drop that out. That's not too bad there. Right. Colour's not too bad. I'll leave the colour at that and I'll just do a quick capture. And we'll stack that and see what that brings out for us. Still a little bit overexposed on that one area. NASA getting rid of old spacecraft that they didn't want the Russians to see with their telescopes. Impacting them hard and fast so they get buried. So when the moon base is eventually established, they can send an expedition out to the area and dig them up and find out what's there. Or it could be no one would have believed that in the early years that the Earth was being scrutinised and slowly and surely a plan. No. I can't remember that. We're not being invaded from Mars. Right, here we go. We're coming up to 2,500 frames. There we go. Right, let's stack this, see if we can get a bit of detail out of this one, shall we? Let's move this out of the way and bring up the software. Select the file. We're getting quite a collection of files this evening, and that's the one that we've just captured. There we go, and let's open that. Right, see if we can scroll through, find a slightly better, sharper image for a reference. We'll do that. I'll drop it down to 300 frames because there's a lot of bad ones in there. I'll let it do it automatically. This is going to take a while. I'll let that do all the lining up. And we'll see what comes out of this one. This is going to be interesting. If this is going to take any time, it might be a good point for me to sneak into that kitchen and put the kettle on. Jack, you'll have to come over one evening. I think you'll enjoy what happens when we're not streaming. Once all this COVID malarkey is over, come on over. This is going to take some time. I don't know about you, but looking at that image on screen right now, that looks like it's got material that's been ejected in roughly the same angle as the previous one. Could the moon actually have wind? I know we have down here because it's blowing the leaves just outside my window. %. This is going to take a while. So while that's happening, would you like to have a look at some of the images we've captured previously this evening? Yes, I hear you all say. Right, let's just open the file and have a look, shall we? All I have to do is remember where I put them. Right, here we go. I think that one was from last night's escapades. So some of these have turned out pretty well, for say they were stacked alive and not a lot of effort was put into them. Because the details around the crater's edges are quite impressive, even for me with such little effort. So I'm not sure if that's camera or software that's doing that. Yeah, that was the ISS going by the moon. I got a glimpse of it with binoculars. If I'd have had a little bit of pre-warning, I'd have had my big camera lens out and I'd have snapped a couple of images of it. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to track the next time it goes over, and we should be able to get an image with the Dragon Crew capsule nearby. That would make a nice photograph. Some of these have come out really well for this evening. Say there was rough and ready processors. and they're quite sharp. They're quite sharp. I think I'll stick these on Facebook on my urban astronomy group as they are, without any extra processing, because for doing image processing live in such a short time, they look pretty good. They do look pretty good. Apart from that one, of course. That one's a nice one. Let's see what we can look. That is really damn impressive, that one. I think with a little bit more post-processing that could turn into quite a nice image. I think that might be my favourite so far. Yeah, it's the UFO landed in here somewhere. We're zooming in trying to spot it. I think it went down in that shadow just there. Could be that line. That's its impact line as it went down. No, you've not missed much, mate. You've not missed much. Just reviewing some of the images from past captures. I think that's about 300 kilometres on that one. I think that's Copernicus. I think that's 300 kilometres across that one. That's an easy one to look up. Anyway, that one's still processing 42%. That's what happens when you give the software its control. It will go over the top with what it thinks it needs. That's where a human comes in. Right, while that's doing that, I think we can still go and view what's going off. Let's drag the controls back in and keep on scrolling. Yeah, there's a secret moon base, and we might have just caught one of the crafts entering one of the secret entrances. Here we go. You can see as you get closer to the Terminator, you get slightly higher detail, better contrast, because over towards the right-hand edge, the eastern edge of the moon, it was all flat and washed out. But along this section here, I mean, even this smaller crater here, with a little bit of tweaking with the focus, you can get a little bit more detail. Smaller craters around the top, details along the edge, and a bit of tweaking brings out even more detail. Right, that one looks like it's got a little bit more potential with the details along that edge there. Let me just tweak the focus a little bit. The clicking you can hear is me operating the controls for the focuser in the observatory outside. Right. Just tweak a little bit of exposure up and down. Colour looks pretty well balanced. Right, we'll just do a capture. This might be interesting because we're doing processing and capturing at the same time. So and that's got the CPU working quite nicely, make it earn its money. The C drive's capturing and processing at the same time, so that's going to be the bottleneck at the minute. Let's move that out of the way and keep an eye on what we're doing. So we're dropping a lot more frames, and that's got a lower priority, still only at 75%. So we'll stay with the capture for a few moments and finish that run off. So for what's happening this evening, that single CPU, it's running the live stream, it's running the telescope, the cameras, 2 cameras, the mount, and it's also processing some data that we've got. I'm not sure if that orange dot that we saw was the space station or was if it was the Dragon rocket going over. I'm not 100% sure. Who's Paula Taylor? Right, that's that capture finished. Let's go back to the processing and let's see what's happening with that. 85%. You can see from this section of the moon here where the light is hitting it more directly. You're not getting any contrast for the crater edges or the surface details. So it's looking all flat. An example would be this crater here, look. You can see the lights actually illuminating the crater walls, but it's not illuminating enough to give you any details. I think that's down to the angle that the light's hitting it. I've just had a look at this track of the space station. That wasn't the space station we saw, that was the Crew Dragon. So Jack, I was wrong. That wasn't the space station. That was indeed the rocket heading up into orbit. The track of the space station is a long way to the west, and it should not have been visible to us. The space station passed over at 10 minutes past 10. And that target you pointed out, I'm going to double check over the stream. I'm going to go back over the stream. I'll show you what I mean. There's the space station passover, 10 minutes past 10 from the west. So I'll double check the stream, go back, and we'll just double check that it was indeed the space station, or if it was in fact the Crew Dragon. Hey Vanish, how going, mate? Welcome to the stream. We're doing a different format this evening. We are doing a capture run on a target and processing it at the same time. And this is going to take a long time to stack. So we'll just go with it at that. I think all the processes are going to be flat out on that one, although it's not too bad. Right, let's have a look, see what we can do with this. I'm not expecting a great deal with this one because of the angle of the light and everything. And it's going to way overexpose that. Now this is not going to be not going to hold much detail at all. Right. Although it's brought a bit out of there and a bit across here. Right, let's do the RGB align. Even the alignment software is struggling to pick up the data area we're working with. That should quickly go through. Yeah, that's not taking too long at all. I think 2 minutes and we'll have this finished. Yeah, that's way overexposed there. I'll go RGB balance, which is not too bad. Close that. The histogram's way out. We'll leave it at that because it's pretty central. And we'll hit the magic button. It's not actually done that bad a job. It's brought a bit of detail out. We'll just save that image as it is and we'll add it to the collection, and we'll go back and have a look at that last capture we did on that other trailer. Okay then, mate. Okay, Jack, I shall catch you the next time. That bright light, if you meant that one that was travelling across earlier on, I've got a feeling that could have been the Crew Dragon or the space station. I am going to go back over our stream and I'm going to cross-reference to when it went over to the time that the space station went over, see if they coincide with each other. Right, I'm going to leave that on screen for a second and I'm going to process that last capture image we did, because that had a bit more detail on a crater, this one here. We'll quickly process this one, because that even on that little image there showing potential for a lot more detail on that one. Yeah, a lot more detail. So let's just scroll up a little bit, see if we can find it. There, we'll go with that one. And we'll put our own align points in. I should do it a little bit quicker than letting the software make its mind up. That will do. This should be pretty quick this time. Yeah, a lot quicker than letting the artificial intelligent machine make its mind up. Very artificial and not very intelligent. Right, it looks like there's quite a lot of movement on this one. Yeah, a lot of movement on that. But let's stack it anyway. And I should imagine around that edge of that crater there, it should be quite a lot of detail. Once we've got this one finished, yeah, across here, it's not actually too bad. So when the image comes in, right, let's just tweak the yeah, it's a bit more contrasty, isn't it? Right, let's just do these sliders a little bit. See if we can bring a little bit more of the more subtle details. It's like bringing it out of this crater edge just here. So when you slide in these, always look for the area which holds potentially the most detail, because you can overcook it by bringing these sliders too far. So just bring them enough. Don't ask me what the sliders do, because I've no idea. But that's just gone a little bit over. So just drop that down a little bit, and we'll leave it at that. And we'll do alignment for the channels. Although it's a colour camera and the picture looks like it's in mono, it still does contain colour data. So we've got to line the channels up, which should make it a little stronger. Okay, Ghostly, like and subscribe, mate, and keep an eye out for when we come online again. And I hope you enjoyed what you've seen this evening. Right, that's okay on that. Let's go to the next one, the RGB balance, which is not too bad. There we go, leave that at that. And then the last one is the histogram. I don't think there's an auto mode. I think we'll leave it at that. I don't think we need to stretch anything else. And let's hit the do all button and see what it looks like when it's finished. Look at that. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. We'll save that as it is. Add it to the collection. There you go. Right, close that, and let's look for another target. Yeah, we're right over the top of the roof, next to our neighbour's roof at the minute, and you can see the thermals coming off the roof, even though there's just a tiny bit of wind. Let's bring the controls back over. And we're drifting quite a lot at the moment, because that's the piece we've just photographed. What time have we got? 11 o'clock. Well, we've had I started a little bit earlier than I intended, so I've had about 2.5 hours. It says 2 hours on the stream started, so I think we've had about 2.5 hours of actual viewing. And you can see now we've just gone past the clear area that the scope normally looks over, and we're over top of one of the roofs of the houses. So I think the images we're going to get from this point on aren't going to be as clear as those from 20 minutes ago. There is a lot of thermal activity there, so that's going to affect the quality of the final images when we get them. This is why astronomy is best in the winter time. Cold, clear nights, lots of frost. I've had many evenings when I've had to scrape frost from around the camera to get it out of the slot. And that's the edge of the moon. Bring the exposure back up the gain up a little bit. Right, go across a little bit more. and up. I will put details of the equipment we use in the video description when we've finished. I think it's important, although I didn't do it at the beginning of the stream, it is important to know what we're actually using. And if it's clear tomorrow afternoon, I'll go and have a revisit of Mercury and Venus if they're within my field of view. I'm going to try and identify each one of those photographs we've got, and I'll annotate them with naming some of the craters and some of the features. Make it a little bit more meaningful. And there's yet another impact. Oh no, it's the same three, isn't it? Duh. That one is slightly oblong, elongated. It's not exactly round. Can't see very much on that one though. Same with that one. So yes, there's a chance that they could have come in at an acute angle and caused that. And just tweak the exposure a little bit again. And another tweak on the focus. But we're really in the wrong zone now because of the houses nearby. We're going right over the top of their roofs, and all that heat that hit those rooftops during the daytime is being radiated back into space. It's causing all these thermals, all this unstable air. I don't think we're going to get anything of any detail along these edges. We need to be slightly closer to the Terminator. Arnie brings out the best on the moon. There we go, look. Right, just have a little tweak on focus, see if we can get anything better. That's it. I think I'll do a little capture on that area there. Here we go, 2,500 frames, that shouldn't take too long. After this we'll do one more target and then I might call it an end to the stream. If you want to leave a message for me in the comments section below, let me know what you thought about the format of live processing as we're capturing. If you thought it was good, if you thought it was indifferent, a bit of feedback would be nice, because if you liked it I might stick to that one, or I might go back to the original where we just keep cruising across the surface looking for information. Just leave a bit of feedback for me. There we go. Move this out of the way and we'll start the software and do a quick stack. I'm guessing that one's it just there. Yep. Yep, that's the one. Open that and see what we get. It always looks a bit grim and disappointing when it first comes up on screen. Right, start off at that. Put our own reference points in. And let it line up on them. We'll use 300 frames again because the thermal effect from the rooftops is not going to leave us with very many good frames. So we'll reduce the number of frames just to something that's going to be reasonable quality and not push it too much. There we go. Let's have a look how far it's moved. It looks like it's moved a lot. It has indeed. So we'll stack it anyway. Oh, that was quick. Actually, it's not too bad. Not surprising, it's not too bad. Yeah, I'll leave it to that, and let's whack the sliders about a bit. As I was saying before, I don't know what each of these sliders actually does. I think it's on different layers, different levels of the image. So look at RGB align. Estimate on that. You prefer it this format where we stack live as we go along? Not at the moment, and it's not dark enough for me to pick them up with any detail, because even though it looks dark outside, it's not dark enough for the camera to work with. Well, that's not too bad, leave that there. And the histogram. Leave it at that, and let's see what it looks like when it's finished. Way overexposed on that. Let's see if we can bring the exposure down, the brightness down a little bit. try that. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do for tonight. Save that one. There we go, that's that one done. Right, I think we've got time for one more target. Bring the controls in. Yeah, I think the quality of the images we're going to get from this point on is going to be a little bit less than what we had before, because we've gone over the rooftops again. Right, I think try something a bit different. We'll go for about 3,000 frames this time. Should make a rather large file, and then we'll go for 500, best 500 frames out of that, and see if that makes anything like a decent picture for the last one. And we are going to drop a lot of frames. Yeah, if you like this format, with working on the moon and perhaps working with Jupiter, Saturn and some of the easier to get planets, we could actually stack live and go back and make adjustments as we're going along. You can do something similar with nebula, some of the brighter nebula, because you can use Deep Sky Stacker Live. So every time you capture an image, it adds it to the last one and denoises or intensifies the high dynamic range of the image and come up with something a little bit more intense. Indeed, yes, we can. I mean, before I finish this evening, I'll go through like a mini slideshow of what we've captured from last evening and this evening. I think we've got about 15, perhaps 18 images, and we've done them, most of them apart from last night's, live on stream. And it's not exactly like spending a lot of time on each image. It was quick and dirty. I think tomorrow, if we get a bit of time, I'll look up setting a Dropbox, and I'll drop some of these videos in the Dropbox, and I'll leave links to all the software that we use, this software in particular, that stacks the images, so you can have a go yourself and see if you can come up with your own versions. Because the software is free, it's just a matter of me setting up a Dropbox for everybody to use. I think that might be a little bit of fun for everybody. Because at the moment, this one CPU is doing image processing, image capturing, streaming the data live back out, controlling the mount, controlling the telescope. So this processor is doing a reasonable job, I'd say. So with your own computers, your own laptops, you should be able to do a lot quicker job and a few times. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's only what I'd be doing by myself, but a few people asked me to share, so this is the result. Right, let's move this out of the way and we'll stack the last image that we've just captured. And then we'll review some of the other data we've captured this evening and last evening. There we go, that's the one. And you can always use this stream to go back if you're not sure how to work the software. It's really very simple. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because you know my motto when we're doing this. Let's just press buttons. And at the moment, pressing a few buttons seems to be working. Right, all I'm doing is placing these reference points on areas of high contrast. No, they're way above my horizon, but it's daylight, and they're not bright enough to pick out through daylight, unfortunately. Let's align these. If you download the Stellarium software and type in your location, it will show you where above the horizon to look during daylight hours. I'm not going to have a cup of tea at the moment, although I'd really be tempted, because I've been taking painkillers, and if I have tea and painkillers, I'll be up going to the toilet and not settling. Right, that's not looking too bad. Let's have a look how far it's moved, because by looking at that, it's moved a lot, and I can see a bit of a red fringe there, so the colour alignment's out. Oh, that's quite surprising. Oh, the motto, yeah, buttons and tea. We're not talking chocolate buttons. After I've finished this evening and tomorrow, oh, that's quite surprising. That's come out pretty well. I'll put links to all the software that I've used this evening. And if I can set up a Dropbox, I'll leave a link to the Dropbox. So you can select the images yourself and have a play. I'll leave that really contrasty this time. See what we can drag out. Right, I think this is where we're going to have a bit of disparity on the colour fringing. It's going to be more than 3 or 4 on any one of the vertices. Oh, -3. I'm not sure. I think I'll just double check on the tracker in a few minutes. I'll bring it up for you. Right, balance is pretty damn good. Let's look at the histogram. I'll bring up the live tracker and show you actually where it is. You said that's too much. Right, let's see what this does for us. It's not actually too bad. I could have spent a bit more time on the tweaking, but brought a bit of detail up around that crater there on the outside as well. And you can see where the stuff's been ejected out of that impact area from this direction this time. Right, I'll save that one into our evening's efforts. And we'll close the program, and I'll just look up for you where Swan is right now. Let me just bring my controls back over. No, Swan's going strong, and I shall bring it up in the 3D simulator for you. Right, move that out of the way. Let's zoom out a little bit. We are on that little blue bit there. So if we tweak it, if you look where we are and where the sun is, that is high in the air, high in the horizon during our daylight hours for us, for me in the UK. So that's going to be way high for me. But if you look at the alignment of Venus and the Sun, almost like Venus is going to do a transit of the Sun, isn't it? It's going to pass very, very close to the front face of the Sun. So no, Swan is still going strong. And let's just have a double check on this alignment. No, it's going to be close, but it's not going to transit, because Earth's going to pass this way and it's not going to transit, unfortunately. That would have been a lovely opportunity, wouldn't it? So that is why I can't see Swan from my location. It's high in the daytime skies, and it's just the skies aren't dark enough for me to capture it. You can actually see the simulated tail it's got as well. One's an ion trail and one's an actual dust trail. So you can actually simulate. Minimise that, get out of the way. So you can go through a day at a time. And simulate when it be below the horizon for a photo opportunity. But most of the time, look, it's going to be in line with the sun, so I'm not going to get much of an opportunity. Might line up with Venus at some point. Look at that, what's that? 19th of August. Venus is going to be daylight as well. Let's keep going. We may have our opportunity later, September time. So that's definitely below the horizon. So September, we may be in the position of getting some images of Swan. This could be an ideal opportunity. September. Look at positions. Look how close we're getting. As long as that distance doesn't become too far, and Mars might be making an appearance. October. Right, it's going to be completely opposite from the Sun. We're going to be between the Sun and the comet itself. So that would leave us in the better position to get a contrasty image. Let's keep going till we've got it right behind us. And there. Let's have a look at that. Right, from that position there, how far away is it? Let's zoom out. It has gone quite a distance away. So it will have faded, but we should be able to get a nice picture of the tail. Now, I think September is going to be about the best opportunity, because it's no longer aligning with the Sun. It's below the horizon, so we should get dark skies. And September, we will be having a lot darker skies. We'll have proper astro dark, so we should be able to get better imaging. So I think September might be a good opportunity for us in the UK to get images of Swan. Also Mars, because if you look at the level of Mars, so Mars might be on the cards for some imaging, some planetary imaging as well. So it looks like September is going to be a very, very busy time for us. So if you're watching this stream at this point, like and subscribe. The future looks bright. Right, let's just scroll away a little bit and find something just to look at, and then I'll review some of the images we've collected this evening. If you're still with us now, well done. You've proved your endurance. We're coming up to the end of the stream. I think we've had some reasonable images, posed some interesting questions, and learned a little bit about the capabilities of this camera. So it's been an enjoyable evening, and I've come to appreciate codeine phosphate to keep the world turning. Codeine phosphate and a cup of tea. Right, I'll leave that on there for now. Let us have a look at the images we've collected this evening, and of course yesterday. Right, let's just full frame it. We'll full frame it. Get this out of the way. We keep putting that there. Right. Right, I think this one was from yesterday. The lighting's slightly different. That's a before and after a meridian flip, I do believe, is it? No, just a bit of movement. There we go. At some point, I might put these into Photoshop and try and tweak the colour. But looking at that, you've got the Terminator and we've got the bright sun. So you've got a nice mix of everything there. You live in southern Canada. Wow, you are a fair way away. That one's from this evening, and those other two were from yesterday. That was from yesterday because the lighting's different. And here we go. I think some of these would benefit from a little tweak in Photoshop. I think I'm going to post all these raw as they are, without any more tweaking, onto the Urban Astronomy Facebook page and share it with everybody who's on there. Some of these images have come out pretty good. I'm quite pleased with them. I mean, this one, for example, look at the detail around the edge of that crater wall. The shadows cast on the outside of the crater wall giving an indication of how tall it is. And I'm really, really impressed with the detail the camera's actually picked up. Look at this. I mean, I'm at the early stages of getting used to this camera. This camera's got a lot of potential. I've still got a lot to learn, but when I get to grips with it properly, after a bit more experience with it, I'm sure we can get some really good imaging. I mean, that one as well. That is, for me, even though we've took them ourselves, these, I'm quite impressed with some of the results that we've come out with such a short time stacking. Them. And there's been no real post-processing. These are just the raw stacks without anything manipulated onto it. And this one looks really, really good. I mean, that might make a wallpaper, because that one picked up a lot of detail on that crater side there. You got the crater field stretching all the way to the southern horizon. If it wasn't for that overexposed bit there, this probably be one of my favourites for the evening. Mind you, it's going to be difficult picking a favourite from all these, because there's a lot of good ones, and they've all had about the same amount of time spent on them on post-processing. This is one that I didn't expect to turn out very well, but it surprised me. Okay, mate, nice having you along for the ride, and perhaps look forward to seeing you again. Like and subscribe, hit that bell, all that malarkey, and have a nice evening, or a nice afternoon in your case. Now that one's not got so much detail. That's a nice one. That's a nice one. I think that was from last night. Right, that's the lot. Hope you enjoyed the stream. We've tried a new format this evening. I'm hoping you enjoyed it, because from my side, just doing it the way we've done it this evening is give you instant feedback of the type of data we've captured. And if it was bad data, we could always go back and recapture the target. So I'll try it again next time, depending on feedback, and we'll perhaps move on or make a new plan for next time. Right, thank you everybody for watching. Nice to have you join me for the journey. Some new things this evening, a different format. Just trying it out, see how you get on with it, see how you like it. Decent image results from last night and today, of course. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. If you've made it this far, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And don't forget, hit that bell for the next time we go live, because I could go live at any time. Chance of looking at Venus tomorrow afternoon in daylight, so keep an eye out for that one. Have a nice evening everybody, or whatever time of day you are in your time zone, and look forward to next time. My name's Angie, see you again soon. Have a nice evening.